Ralph has been served Ralph actually serves the company Compilation as a business development manager for Asia and the Pacific region, where he works with educational institutions across the region, helping them to navigate the challenges of academic integrity in the age of AI. Through his work with universities and colleges throughout the region, Ralph has developed deep insights into how institutions are successfully navigating AI adoption while maintaining academic standards. He brings practical and real-world perspective drawn from Compilations's partnerships with educators who are implementing effective strategies to foster authentic learning alongside AI tools. A cum laude graduate in medical technology. Okay, so Ralph is passionate about AI and its transformative potential in education, while remaining committed to ensuring academic integrity remains at the care of the learning experience. So without further ado, please welcome Ralph.
Thank you very much, Isa, for those words. So, hello everyone, and welcome once again to today's webinar. I really appreciate your presence today, and I hope you will learn something, of course, about the new challenges with the AI age, and of course, how we can help as Compilation, how we can help your institutions. So, let me just share to you my screen. So I've sent you the request, Isa. Okay. So it's good. And let me now share this. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes,
Great.
I can.
Excellent. So once again, welcome everyone to today's webinar entitled Understanding Academic Integrity in the Age of AI. And as Isa mentioned, I am the Business Development Manager for the APAC region. So that includes Pakistan, Malaysia, Singapore, etc. So just to give you an idea about Compilation, Compilation is an international company with more than, or we're present in more than 50 countries. We're based in France with an office in Italy. And we've been in the market of academic integrity and plagiarism detection for 20 years. So Turnitin, which is our major competitor, and maybe you are quite familiar with, they've been in the market for 25 years. But maybe you just heard of us now, but rest assured that we have the experience of 20 years. So we are one of the pioneers actually in the plagiarism detection and the #1 plagiarism and AI detection in Europe. So we're trusted by more than 1,000 institutions. #1 in Europe. All of the universities in France use us. That's 100%. 50% of universities in Italy use us. And we are also #2 in Latin America. Indonesia as well, we're #2. And in other countries all over the world. So one of the differences that we have, of course, is that we promote personalized guidance and an educational approach to plagiarism detection, which is both positive and educational, pedagogical. So we provide personalized guidance and support. Your tickets will be answered within 24 to 48 hours, not weeks. So rest assured of that. Now, what are our services for education? We have multiple offers actually. We have first Compilation Magister and Magister Plus, which we're going to be dealing with today. This is the software used for plagiarism and AI detection in education institutions. Then we also have a new product that we recently released. Actually, it's called Jingo AI. It is to help you teachers and professors evaluate written work. It's an AI tool that it automatically evaluates, let's say, theses, any form of assignments that is written. So to save you time up to 400 hours of evaluation time in a year. In the meantime, it's not yet available in English, but eventually it will be. And finally, we have Compilation Studio, which is plagiarism and AI detection for students. So today we're going to be dealing with Compilation Magister and Magister Plus. So you are quite familiar, of course, as researchers, as educators, what an academic integrity is. But because of AI, there's new challenges, there's new challenges that comes about, especially with AI generation. So let me start off by saying that AI should not be feared. Okay, teachers or educators or academics, you for every new tool, we develop this anxiety. Like when the calculator was developed before, the teachers or the educators feared that the students will not learn math. When the internet was released, we were afraid of it. And also the smartphones, we got afraid of it because students might cheat. And now it's AI. And that's the main concern that we have since its release in 2022, 2023. And actually, it shouldn't be feared because uh, cheaters, if there are any cheaters, especially, students who really want to cheat, there will always be, regardless of the tools. It's like when you have a house with a lawn or a garden or a yard or a grass, like a grass. So even if you put a sign stating that do not step on the grass, there will always be people that will step on the grass. Even if you put another boundary like a barrier, you know, people might still go over it. So determined cheaters, regardless of the tool, will always cheat. And you, as educators, are quite familiar with that. You encounter it on a daily basis. But of course, the cheating has evolved. So nowadays, how do students misuse AI? So these are the new challenges that we have or that we've encountered uh, in terms of academic integrity with the AI era. So first, we have AI full generation, meaning students submitting works or assignments that are fully generated by AI generators such as ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc. Next, you have AI paraphrasing or polishing. So this type of cheating or misuse, basically the students are they have copied from an existing source. But in order for it not to be similar and not to be considered as plagiarism, so the source in itself comes from another author. But in order for them not to be detected or not to be tagged as plagiarized, they would paraphrase it with AI. They would polish it with AI. Next, you have AI draft plus contract cheating refinement. Meaning to say, you will have students that will come up with a full generated AI text. And then, in order to have the human voice, they would pay someone to paraphrase it or to refine it. And then they will submit that. Next, you have outsourcing cognitive work to AI. So the idea is theirs, but when it comes to the analysis part, it's gonna be AI that's gonna do all of the work. So all the complicated things, they will submit to AI so that it's gonna be AI who will do this type of work. Next, of course, you have fabricated citations. So AI is prone to hallucinations, and it can cause fake citations or fake sources. So this does not happen only with students, but also with researchers who try to publish their research work in journals. So their works might get retracted by the publishers eventually because of the use of fabricated sources. Then you have uncited AI use, meaning the student used AI, but they didn't cite it as a source. And lastly, you have AI fabricated data or statistics. So I think that explains it quite well. Um, you have students that will that will use AI, not realizing that the data that it produces or the statistics that it produced are just made up, and it hasn't been scientifically tested or proven or statistically done. So these are the types of student misuse that is happening now in the age of AI. But as we all know, AI is here to stay. What are the teachers doing? Okay? So, or the institutions. There are two types now of, or two different levels where um the institutions or the teachers control the use of AI. So first, either they prevent it, so they have strategies to discourage the misuse, and even educate their students about the use of AI, or detection. So they use tools or strategies to identify whether AI has been used inappropriately or not. So prevention, if you do not have any AI policy yet, of course, you can develop it to prevent it in your institution. So you can develop your own clear usage policies on AI. You can rethink the assessments. In what sense? There are institutions where, they hide um, like blank instructions that will fool the AI, so that if the student just copy paste it on AI, it will generate whatever instructions that are hidden, and teachers are able to detect. Some would resort to real-time assignments like in the classroom to prevent AI use, or they would have to use the traditional pen and paper this time. Other institutions would teach AI literacy so that it would prevent the misuse of it by the students. And the rest, you have what we call scaffolded AI integrated tasks. We actually had a webinar with an expert on this. If you want to see this webinar, if you can go on my LinkedIn page, I have actually published it on my LinkedIn page. And you would see the link of this webinar if you're interested to learn about scaffolded AI integrated tasks. Sorry. So we had an expert, Dr. Michelle Casorla from the United States, who discussed it in a very clear and informative manner. So it's really an interesting topic. So if you want to learn more about it, please do not hesitate to check it out. In terms of detection, of course, you have AI detection tools. Um, of course, you have Turnitin, you have Compilation, you have other tools in the market. Next, you have progress writing monitoring tools. So this tracks the history of or the writing style of your students. And you have human or peer review to look for the student's voice, or to really see whether, because you as the teachers who have been teaching these students, you know how these students sound in their papers or in their writing. So human detection is also being done in certain institutions. And finally, you have oral follow-up assessments or public presentation or defense. Um, for example, certain institutions in Europe, they do this, and they even give higher percentage in the scoring on the oral exams rather than the written one. So these are some, suggestions or strategies that are being done in other institutions. But of course, today we're going to be talking about how Compilation can help you. And we are, of course, a plagiarism and an AI detector tool, because I know that maybe you might think that it would be easier to, and cheaper for that matter, to teach the students about AI literacy or to teach yourselves because it's a new tool. So you have to teach yourself on how to adapt your assessments. But this type of prevention takes longer time for you to be able to implement. So in the meantime, while students are using AI, the AI tools or AI detection tools are the easiest to implement. And that is part of our presentation today because Compilatio can help your institution with the detection step of AI use. First, of course, we have the basic or the traditional plagiarism. So Compilatio detects traditional plagiarism as well. It detects similarities. So what happens is, just like, for example, in Turnitin or our other competitors, we will extract the text from the submitted documents, and we will search for similar text in other sources in the database or online. So for us, we have multiple types of databases that we check. The first one is the online and the internet, open access and paid. So we also have our own database of indexed academic and scientific content and journals. And next, we have in-house database, which is your database, your reference library. So these are documents that are uploaded by your institution if you adapt Compilatio. Remember, if you're using another tool, let's say Turnitin, you can actually move this over to Compilatio for free so that you can use them as comparison source for future comparisons. Okay? And finally, we have the user community database, whereby documents uploaded by other users and indexed for that matter will be checked. Of course, privacy is guaranteed. Now, how do we detect AI? So AI, just for your information, our AI detection tool has been trained on thousands of human written content as well as those content generated by AI. And it will detect the writing style, the tone, the context, and even cultural language aspects. So in terms of our accuracy, we are actually more accurate than Turnitin, for example, because we have 98.5% in certain languages, for example, English. For those in Pakistan, we also have the capability to detect AI-generated text in your local language. And for those in Malaysia as well, Bahasa Malaysia, Hindi, Urdu, and of course, Chinese can be detected. Okay? We have to understand though, there's no AI tool in the market that is 100% accurate. So there's still room for false positive and false negative results. This is why I always tell my customers that when it comes to AI detection, you have to treat AI detection as a guide, not as a proof of cheating. So think of it as a firearm detector or a metal detector in airports. At the end of the day, metal detectors will alarm even if you do not carry a firearm, right? But there will be someone behind a human being that will check and double check if you really do have a firearm or not. No problem. So as I was saying, you have to treat AI detection the same way. You have to think of it as a metal detector in the airport. You as the professors or the educators, if in case there's high AI or potentially generated AI text that is detected, you have to check it, double check it. Because again, it's not proof that, AI was used. The report is not gonna be the proof. So sorry once again for the slight interruption.
Yeah, me too. Same goes.
So in terms of our offerings, of course, since we are a European company, we do adhere to the GDPR laws of Europe. So meaning to say you have full control over your documents. So this is another thing that sets us apart from Turnitin. Because meaning to say you are able to delete the documents from the database as a user. Because in Turnitin, that is still, you still need to submit it to the admin, right? And it takes a while before you're able to delete it. But with Compilatio, it's automatic, real time, you'd be able to delete it. So you have full control over your documents. And of course, you do not have to worry about other institutions or government for that matter in accessing your documents, especially if you're working or working with research that is really classified. So unlike, for example, in US companies, US companies like Facebook, Meta, Google, they're bound by the Patriot Act. So meaning to say, if the US government tells them that you have to provide me access to the documents, then unfortunately, US companies will be able to or will have to give them the access. It is not the same for European companies under GDPR. In terms of our offers, what we offer, of course, with Magister, it comes with regulatory tools to help you out with your policy, like code of honor templates, charter models, and other helpful models that you can use for your own institution. Communication tools as well, if you want to communicate about your policy. Training tools for teachers, of course, and for students as well. And of course, you have the Compilatio Magister or Magister Plus products, which is dealing with the plagiarism and AI. So with Compilatio Magister Plus, you also get semantic similarity detection, meaning to say deep reformulations. So for example, you will have students that will copy or plagiarize from one source, but they will heavily paraphrase it, and change it semantically. So that can be detected with our tool. We also have grammar and spell checking. And of course, translated similarity detection, meaning to say from one language to another. So let's say they copied from Spanish and they translated it into English. We also offer other technical options such as LMS integration, where the number 2 most used plagiarism plugin in Moodle. We offer also on Microsoft Teams, Brightspace, Canvas, and Blackboard. And soon we will also have our LTI ready for other platforms. Hopefully by the end of this month, it will already be available or early next month. And finally, single sign-on authentication as well. So in terms of our subscription contract, it's institutional and it's 1 to 5 years, multi-year subscription. So it's not available for individual teachers, but it has to be the entire institution. And 1 to 5 years, we also offer loyalty discounts for multi-year subscription plus inflation price protection. So for you, you can also either just cover a part of your institution or the entire institution. So our pricing is fair and stable. It's the same conditions for everyone. So what type of service you've chosen, let's say, the level of education, secondary or higher education, and the number of students enrolled. What is our major technical differences with other tools, such as Turnitin. So the advantages of switching to compilation, for example, first, the users. So with compilation, the users are only the teachers. The student's role is just to submit. Unlike in Turnitin or in other tools, the students have their own account. For compilation, the students do not have their account. They can only submit their assignments. And as a teacher, you're also allowed to submit your own works on your own. You can do that. You do not have to enroll as a dummy student for you to just submit your article that you want to publish in a journal. Okay? So why we don't give access to the students is to prevent students from editing their works multiple times until it becomes undetectable, which is one of the issues as well by a lot of institutions. So some students that are given the same tool that you pay for, with a lot of money, they will change their works until it becomes undetected by the same tool that the teachers are using. So we try to prevent that. Next, incidental similarities. So unlike other anti-plagiarism software, our tool automatically excludes small phrases. So any similarities less than seven words, it's automatically excluded. You do not have to set it in the parameters. It's automatically excluded for you. And lastly, of course, text manipulation. So all types of text manipulation by the students are detected by the tool. Okay, it will be detected by the tool. And unfortunately, Turnitin is not able to detect everything. So we had a case in Indonesia, for example, where the article has already been published in the journal. And when it was run on Turnitin, Turnitin wasn't able to detect the text manipulation that was done. The text manipulation that was done by the researcher or whoever submitted it into the journal, they actually placed small L, a white L in each word. So this was not detected, but our tool detected it. When this institution moved over to us, before they moved over to us, they actually submitted this document. And that's when they found out that the results, it was 44% text manipulation. And that's why they moved over to us. Next is control over documents. So as I mentioned earlier, you have full control over your document as an individual, as a user. You are able to delete them from your database. You also have a side-by-side view comparison or side-by-side comparison view so that you can easily compare your students' work from the original source. And finally, you have the multilingual AI detection and grammar and spell checker. So as I mentioned earlier, our AI detector can detect up to 185 languages, not only English. Okay, so our software, it's an online solution. It's cloud-based, so there's no installation required. It's easy to deploy. You just need to enter your login details and your password. And the institution will have two types of profiles. The admin profile, where you can handle your students, or your teachers, users. You can handle the statistics, or you can see your statistics so that you can optimize the use of your tool. And you have the user or teacher account where you are able to make the submissions or where the student can submit. Okay, so let me show to you the tool. It's on compilation.net. Of course, English, and then login. So when the teacher logs in, you would see this basically. You would see the default folder where you have the demo documents. But in order for you to create an assignment, or if you want a student to submit, or if you want your students to submit their work, you have to create a new folder. Okay? So you have to click on new folder, and you have to enter your information about the assignment. So for example, this would be history, or let's say science 101. You enter the instructions, and then you have the different types of analysis. So you have the syntactic similarity, which is always enabled. This is the full exact copy-paste or slight reformulation. Okay? Then you have the semantic similarity detection. You can either disable it or enable it. This is for deep reformulations. Keep in mind, though, that when you enable it, it will prolong the analysis time. Because what happens behind is that the text is extracted, it will be checked for syntactic similarity first. And if there is syntactic similarity, it will run the analysis again for semantic similarity. So that's why it may increase the analysis time if you activate it. Next, AI detection, you can also enable it. Unrecognized language, this is the text manipulation. So unrecognized language is basically any form of written text that does not constitute a vocabulary in any known language. So for example, it can be a series of numbers, formulas, etc. But it can also be the text manipulation side. As I mentioned, he hiding white characters in between each word, changing characters, so that it is no longer similar. Because at the end of the day, we're detecting the similarity between one work to another. So you can also enable this. And you have grammar and spelling, which you can also enable. So our tool is quite straightforward. It's not a long learning curve for you if in case you adapt our tool. And the settings are quite straightforward as well. So here, it gives you the type of analysis launch. So example, if you do not choose the analysis launch, it will be manual, meaning you have to click on the analyze button before it will be analyzed. You can also choose automatic launch of analysis if you want all the submissions to be analyzed automatically once they arrive. Planned launch of analysis, you can schedule an automatic analysis of all of the documents at a specific date. And you have, of course, the suspicious text threshold, which is the policy of your institution. So you can actually adjust this according to your policy. So normally it's 0 to 10%. It means to say that it's safe. 10 to 25%, it means to say that it's still acceptable according to the policy, but there's a high or a significant number of suspicious texts. And above 25%, it's red, meaning to say it's no longer original work and it's no longer acceptable by your institution. And finally, you have the document database here. So you can choose whether to automatically add all submissions into the database or not. We highly suggest you do it automatically. But if in case you do not want to do so, that's fine. But in order to make the detection better, please save all of your documents in your database, except for assessments that requires multiple submissions of the same document. Like for example, if this is for a thesis that requires multiple submission of the same work, then you only save the last or the final draft into the database, but not the first initial drafts, okay? So once you have set up the settings, you just save, and now it's created. So how do you submit? So you have two ways of submitting, either by the teacher or by the student. So if it's the teacher, you just click add files. You select any file format, even zip files for bulk uploading. And the text must not exceed 100 MB in file size. And in order for it to be analyzed, it has to contain 100 to 300,000 words. So let me just show you an example. Okay, so now you'll see here that it's loading and it's finished. And now you'd see that it is here in the folder. So another way for the teacher to submit, for example, if you have published an article on an e-journal, you can also add the URL of the page where your article is present. Or you can copy paste. And finally, you can also collect from your students. So if you want to collect from the students, you click on collect, allow your students to submit, and you give them the link. So this is going to be the link where they will submit the documents to this specific assignment. So when the student clicks on the link, they will be brought to the document collection interface, which shows the name of the institution, the name of the teacher, the assignment, or the course. And they just submit, select a file, and they drop their file on the link. You can also adjust the settings, of course, for the submission link. So whether you can allow the deadline or whether you want to set up a deadline for the submissions for this assignment, allow deposit or allow submissions after deadline, meaning late deposits. And on the form, you can also show suspicious text to the student, meaning the suspicious text threshold of your school. You can show them the policy of the institution. You can also show them the results. So now when the student clicks on the link, they will see the policy of the school and they will have the way to search for their results through the document ID. So once they submit, click on this next, select a file. You will see the title, the size, etc. Next, they have to enter their name and their email address, whether there's another author with them, add author, and accept. And now it has been sent to the teacher. And you have here the receipt, which is also going to be sent to their email. And this is the document ID that they will use to search for the result. So on the teacher side, you see it has been submitted and analysis is in progress. So when the student checks on the link at the sharing results, they copy their document ID. As you can see, the student will see here that it's analysis in progress. Okay? But on the teacher side, now there's the results. So once the results are generated, you would see the name of the document, the date it was submitted, the time, who submitted it, how many words, the file size, and who is the author. For more details, you can click on this button where you can see further details about the document, including analysis time and whether it is on the database or not. So you can put it in the database. So now it's added to your document database, or you can remove it with a simple click of a button. Okay? So you also have the database button here. So if it's X, it means to say that it's not in the database. So if you want to add it, you just click on check. If you want to remove it, it's no longer in the database. Real time with a simple click of a button. You have the total score of the suspicious text. You have the location bar where the suspicious texts have been located. And you have the different types of suspicious texts that have been detected. So for example, you will have similarities, unrecognized languages, and text potentially generated by AI. To see the full report, you just click on report, and it will bring you to our online report, where you have the summary page. which gives you the summary of all that have been found. Like we have found 42% of similarities. We also have found 8% of AI and 3% of unrecognized languages. We also highlight text between quotes, meaning to say text that are in between quotation marks. Because if it's also high or significantly high, then it means to say that it's no longer original work. If it's more than 30% of copied, even if it's properly cited, it's not, it's not properly written work still. It's not proper research. Next, you can exclude certain suspicious text if you want. So for example, if you think that AI is acceptable for this specific assignment, so you just exclude it and it will readjust the score. Okay? Then if you want to go into the details, you have the points of interest. So in the points of interest page, you will have the work of your student, and you will have the location bar on top, which you can click, and it will bring you to the suspicious text. And you can browse according to different types of suspicious text: similarities, text between quotes, unrecognized language, or AI. So if you click on it, it will bring you to the passage. If you notice, the similarities are highlighted, and beside it, you will have the ignore button. So if you as a teacher decide that, oh, this is not plagiarism, you just click on it, and it will ignore that, and it will recalculate the score. Beside the ignore button, you will have the source. So this one, for example, it's from Wikipedia. And if you want to see and compare the source from your student's document, you just click on compare the source. And on your right, you will see the original source. And on the left is the student's work. So for example, for Wikipedia, here on the right is the Wikipedia article. On the left, it's your student's article or submission. If you notice, AI, as you can see here, which is highlighted by the sky blue color, it doesn't have any source beside it, because there's no AI tool that can inform you where it came from, whether it was generated by ChatGPT, Claude, etc. It cannot tell you that. We cannot also inform you whether it was what prompt was used to generate the text. So no AI tool can do that. That's why, as I've told you, AI detection doesn't really translate as AI proof or AI use, the proof of AI use by the student. So you have to treat it as a guide, and you have to develop and discuss it further with your student. Here, we also detect, as I mentioned, unrecognized languages and text manipulation. So here, the student copied a text, and in order for it not to be similar to the original source, they placed white characters in between each words. So that can be detected, and it will be tagged as unrecognized language. And finally, you can also, as I mentioned, in terms of detection from other databases of other universities, you can also, or it will also be detected if they are a compilation user, and privacy is guaranteed. And if you check the side-by-side view, you would see that everything is blocked and only the copied text is showing. You do not have the details of where it came from, who is the author, and all of these details can be provided by Compilation if you request for it. Okay? if you want to really further investigate. And finally, you have the sources of similarities, which basically lists out all the sources that we've detected. So again, we do not list all the sources, especially if the sources only have like 5 words that are similar. So we will only list the major sources with more than 7 words. And you will have sources with incidental similarities. These are commonly used phrases. For example, this assignment has been submitted by. Instructions will also fall here. Bibliography will also fall here. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Bibliography will also fall here, and you can just ignore all these accidental sources. They're not, they're not plagiarism. But of course, within this year, we will also have the opportunity for you to exclude it beforehand. So for example, if you have specific phrases that you want to exclude beforehand, you can enter these and they will be excluded and they will not be tagged in the similarity score at all. Okay? That's before the analysis. And you can also add sources. So as you know, there's a lot of documents worldwide. And regardless of which company you're going to use, all of us do not have all of the documents in the world. Even Turnitin, they do not have all of the documents in the world. So for us, if we do not detect a specific source, you can add the source so that the document will be analyzed again and checked with this specific source that you have. Okay? So there is a possibility to do that. And also even in a different language. Next, of course, and finally, you have the grammar and spell checker, which is here on top, grammar and spelling. But in a couple of weeks, it will be here below in one of the profile views. But currently, you have to press on grammar and spelling to see the suggestions. So it will show you the misspelling, the grammar errors, punctuation errors, style. So for example, fear and here it's missing the comma. Anxiety is misspelled because the student placed or used the alpha character instead of the letter A. Phobia is misspelled because the student used the 0 instead of letter O. Okay? So that is it basically for our tool. It's very straightforward and it's quite simple, easy to use. You can download the report as well. And you can also see the statistics from the admin profile. So the admin would be able to see the number of submissions that have been made. They would be able to see how many users are active, which users are submitting the most documents. They would be able to see that. But to end basically this webinar, let me share to you just some best practices that you can adapt, so that you can ensure fairness with the evaluations and the assessments while maintaining academic integrity. So some tips and practices that are being used by our existing customers. First, you have to give clear directives. So you have to really inform what your expectations are when it comes to AI use, especially. You have to be transparent that you're using a tool to detect AI because sometimes it will deter students from using, AI if they know that you will be checking using an AI detector. So it's like it's like the sign before what do you call this? A camera, a speed camera on the road. If you see that, oh, there is a speed camera that is incoming, we tend to slow down. So it's the same for students. If they see that you are going to use a tool to detect plagiarism in AI, then they will also hesitate. Next, always check the full report. Never judge the students based on the score, the total score, because that can still be refined. And you have to keep in mind, AI detection tools is not 100% accurate, so it should not be treated as a proof. It's a guide. And you have to reach out, of course, for help from us, from the local distributor, or, speak with your students. You have to ask them, questions when AI generated text is detected. So, for example, what percentage and which parts of the document is concerned. So, for example, it's just less than 10%, so maybe you can accept it. Or if it's too high, in which parts where it was it found? Was it in the crucial parts of the document? Or maybe it's just the introduction, or, not really parts that will affect their critical thinking or their research. Next, rules and allowed usage. So you have to establish your own AI policy, whether you would like to allow AI use or not. And if AI is going to be used, are you going to incite your students to, cite the source, cite the AI generator, cite what prompt they used? Students' voice and intent. Is the writing style similar to the previous submissions of the student, or is it really very, structured and well written, that it seems like it has been written by AI? And do you hear the voice of the student? Normally, you would have, whenever you're familiar with a student and how they write, you would somehow hear how their voice. So you have to look into that as well and ask them what their intention was. Maybe they just use it to check their grammar. Remember, by the way, talking about this, Grammarly and other AI grammar checkers or grammar tools still uses AI. So it will be detected as AI. And finally, you have mastery of the subject. So if your student, really used AI, then try to ask them questions about the subject. If they learn, maybe you can accept it, because that's the point of you teaching them. At the end of the day, if they've learned whether they use AI or not, I think your work as a teacher is done, for as long as it's not, like research, purely research work that you want to publish. So that ends our session for today. Thank you very much, everyone. If you have any questions, maybe you can share them.
Thank you so much, Ralph. That's very insightful. Presentation about Compilatio. Looking at the chat room here, I believe that this is one of the question, perhaps that this is a question posted by Dr. Hajra. And I do understand about this as well. I believe that this requires your suggestion on how can we go about doing it. So you do understand when we write research paper that we always have to on the abstract we have to take from the literature review and the introduction and things like that. So almost every chapter, especially the first three chapters, is actually redundant from one another. So how do we go about, doing this, and what do you suggest we do to make sure that the compilatio, especially, will not treat this as what do you call that?
As
Plagiarism, yeah.
yes. Okay. So I think this happens in any tool that detects
Mm.
similarity, first and foremost. But as I've mentioned, we will be releasing a new feature where
Mm.
you're able to enter specific paragraphs to exclude.
Mm.
So hopefully within by mid of this year it will be released. But for the meantime, you can use the refining tools. So when you go to the report, you can refine actually. So from the points of interest. So if you see, okay, this is the introduction, and this is, this is actually a literature review. So this is not plagiarism. So what you just do is you simply remove it and ignore it. And it's no longer going to be included in the similarity score. So again, for now, this is what needs to be done after the analysis. But eventually, later on, once our new feature is implemented, then you do not have to worry about that because it's going to be prior to evaluation or analysis. So you are able to set it in the settings. For example, you put the specific paragraph, or the specific text in the settings, and it will be ignored before analysis. Okay? So I hope
So
it answers the question.
yeah, another question, actually. So when we put that sentence, like this article is about, that's kind of like it's like actually a normal sentence for most articles. So if you put that as point of interest to be ignored, so it will ignore all of these submissions. You don't have to do it one
Correct.
by one, isn't it? Okay, that's
Exactly.
cool.
Exactly. That is gonna be implemented hopefully by mid of this year.
That's great. Right. Other questions, actually, Dr. Hajra also asking if you can share the presentation. I'm not quite sure if it's allowed to share presentation.
The presentation, you will have the recording. Yes. You will have the recording. But the presentation, since it does include, like information about our tool, I won't be able to provide that. But the other slides, for example, where, like, for example, the best practices, the questions to ask if you encounter AI use, those I can share. Those I
Mm,
can share separately. But
okay.
anything that has our tool, I will have to remove those.
Understandable. So don't worry, we'll try to upload the recording as soon as possible to our YouTube channel and also to our blog. Again, if you have any further questions before we end the session, please feel free to text on our chat so that I can read it out. And those questions we'll try to also put it as our FAQ on our blog post as well. Anything else that we should know about this plagiarism uh tool, Araf?
So yes, of course, again, I have to reiterate, plagiarism tools, it's not 100% accurate.
Mm,
Okay, it's just a guide. It can be very useful to um, basically prevent AI use eventually from students,
mm-hmm,
but it's not the only answer to AI use. At the end of the day, we have to, adapt other strategies that I've mentioned earlier, like, changing your assessments. So, for example, you can put like hidden instructions there, so that if they put it on AI, it will be detected by AI and it will generate, something else. Or other structured way of assessments, or basically evaluations that would involve AI use. So majority of US institutions actually do that now. So again, if you want, for the document, I mean for the presentation about this, I have the session on my LinkedIn page. Please check it out. It is with Dr. Casorla, Michelle Casorla, and it
Mm-hmm.
can be helpful in your institution or in your work as well.
That's very interesting. I did share your LinkedIn link on the chat. So feel free to add Ralph on LinkedIn as well, and
Thank you.
attend his session, his next session. Since we don't have any other questions, Ralph, if you don't mind, this is last question from me. You did mention about people using Grammarly, and from academic perspective, there are quite a number of academic tools that we're using. Sorry, not academic tools, the research tools, and basically these are AI. AI tools. Yeah, for editing, for summarizing, etc., etc. So
Definitely.
yeah, so what will happen if if we use all these tools to help us in reading the journals, compiling the journals, summarizing, etc. And then we write our papers and submit it to the plagiarism check, I mean, to
Correct.
Compilatio. So what will happen? Um, as simple as Grammarly. So how does the tool Compilatio track this? You know?
Yes. So unfortunately, it will still be detected as AI. So this is why it is really important that the teacher, you know, checks with the student, especially if it has been used. Um, I know that certain institutions allow the use of these AI tools,
Mm-hmm.
but if it is copy paste, from Grammarly or from other AI tools, given that it's coming from AI, from an AI tool, it will still be detected as an AI generated text. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I suggest, to take it, to take AI results um, as a guide for you, whether you will evaluate it further or not. So if it has high scoring, then proceed with the questioning that I have provided to you to determine whether AI was used maliciously or with ill intent or not.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Just to help the students as well, since I do
Yes.
understand what they have to each time to submit for proofreading.
Unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it will detect all types of AI tools. So,
So use
um,
your Grammarly. Be careful when you use Grammarly.
exactly. And maybe just one last thing for publishers, or for example, or for those who are preparing articles for publishers, we also provide another product
Mm-hmm.
specifically for publishers, for scientific research work, etc., that is not part of the university. Or maybe you are part of the university, but you want to have it published by a scientific journal. Then we have another product for that, and we also have a feature that detects fake sources and fake citations and fake news.
Oh.
So yes, we have that tool as well. So there's two other questions that maybe I can
Mm.
answer.
Yeah,
Are we
sure.
allowed to submit our research after reviewing the text of AI? In the sense that you want to publish it, yes, of course, you are allowed to submit your research, to any publishers. I think a lot of publishers actually do not check AI yet. Um, and, you know, they are only more focused on plagiarism. But if in case you have established that even though there was AI detected, but you have established that the student didn't use it to cheat, then you can submit it freely
Mm.
for publication.
That's
I'm not sure if that answers the question or if that was the point of the question. In terms of institutional use, it varies based on the number of students. So please, if you want submit a request, and we will be able to provide you with a quotation. So it varies per institution, of course.
Right. Okay. Any other questions regarding compilation? So if there's no question, let's wrap up the today's presentation. And of course, once again, thank you so much, Ralph, for your time.
Thank you for the
Yeah.
invitation.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time and sharing this experience, your experience with us, and all this information regarding Compilatio and how can we make full use of Compilatio, and in making sure that all of our resources are actually uh, what we created is actually based on what we understand, and it is not skewed towards the AI so much. So basically, it's still a human brain. I like
Yes.
it when you mention about a tool is still a tool, because that's a phrase where we always use a tool is still a tool, a fool with a tool is still a fool. So at the end of the day, we need to understand how it works, and we also need to understand, what exactly that we want to share to the crowd, to the readers, to our learners, to whoever that we are sharing our knowledge to. Because that is actually our knowledge. So know what you want to share, and let AI to help you in crafting that, but don't fully concentrate in making the AI as the main writer. So that's how it is for this era. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming and joining us during the session. And of course, thank you so much, Ralph, once again, for your time,
Thank you very much.
and coming to this session, sharing with us. So everyone, have a nice day. Okay,
Thank you,
God bless.
everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Ramadan Mubarak, everyone. Bye.